Welcome to the video. It's been a while if you're a subscriber, but I've been pretty busy and I didn't have the time to make a video that's worthy of the channel, at least in my opinion. So I haven't been making any videos for a little bit, but I'm back, so we're gonna make a video. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. This video is about these videos. My channel is more about improving my life, my own life philosophies, documenting my life, all that type of stuff is covered in this channel. So subscribe if you want to know more. Go watch my other videos if you want to. I don't put too much effort in these videos because I have other things in my life, but you're welcome to subscribe. You don't have to. Today we're going to be talking about two things really. A little bit of a life update on my dieting and my exercise routine. And then the other thing we'll probably talk about is a little bit of a mini experiment I've been running recently. Uh, So let's jump into it. Diet wise, I added a new meal to my meal plan. I've been adding pizza because I can just take a tortilla shell with some mozzarella, some tomato sauce, some pepperoni, throw it in the air fryer for 5-10 minutes, and then it's ready and takes barely any time at all. So I've been doing that recently. So I've added a new meal to the meal plan to survive, which is I think it's worthy of celebration. I wanted to try this mango drink that I saw online from a YouTuber I watched. However, I didn't have a chance to get the mangoes from the store because there's really bad tornado watch yesterday after work. So I was like, I'm not gonna go grocery shopping while there's a chance of tornado. I want to get home, sleep it off and everything. So I wasn't able to do that, unfortunately. So maybe I'll make a video on that, depending on how it goes. Maybe a review of the drink. I don't know. I think it's frozen mangoes, milk, eggs, and some honey. You kind of mix it up into a drink. Sounds pretty good. We'll try it. I'll try it out. Maybe you guys can try it out. I'll also be able to use my food processor in it. So I'll finally be able to use it. I also have been snacking a little bit with these marshmallows I got and these cheese cubes I've gotten. The marshmallows are really good. I got the really high quality ones that are with really good ingredients, except for one which is natural flavoring. I don't like. Rest of the ingredients are pretty good. I looked through the whole supermarket for really good marshmallows. Those were the best ones. The rest of them had corn syrup and other stuff, so they're a little bit more expensive. I've only found them once, and the times I've gone to try find them more. So I don't know what's going on with that at the Walmart I go to. But that's diet wise. Exercise wise, there's really two main changes. Well, three really. I've been doing some more kettlebell swings to help work out my legs. I've been doing that. The other two are the main ones. I've been doing these I've been hanging off my pull up bar. Really helped with my grip strength, but also my posture. Completely fixed my posture. I used to have really bad posture until recently. One, because I didn't really consider it important. Number two, really, is I worked at I worked at a fast food place for 2 years. Problem was is my arms are really short compared to my legs. So I was making sandwiches or on the grill, or whatever. I would have to bend over my shoulders, or I could bend my knees. But I took the path of least resistance and always bend my shoulders. Really bad for me over the long term. 2.5 years plus back pain because of that. I remember there was a guy who worked there longer than me, way longer than me. I don't want to mention his name, but his shoulders were really bad. It's a severely shoulders were severely hunched over, really bad. I realized I didn't want to be like that. Part of the reason I quit that job was because of that. Now I loved all the people I worked with, but that job I didn't like the actual job because of that. Because of the health benefits. Dealing with oil all day, that was part of it, and then the other part, like I said, was posture. So thankfully I fixed that because what hanging does from a pull up bar is it kind of elongates your spine because of gravity. Gravity kind of forces it. And there's videos on this topic online on YouTube if you want to look it up. Just from that perspective, I would recommend a pull-up bar for everyone. Even if you don't want to do pull-ups on it, the $20 investment is worth it. Or the $50 to get a better one. I got the cheapest one and it's been fine, but I think it's really worth it just for that. And I've also gotten calluses on my hands because of it. That's the part. It is really hard in the beginning, because you want to hang for a minute at a time. It's kind of hard in the beginning because your grip strength is not good enough for it. So your hands hurt really badly. So you can't do it for very long, which is why I recommend which was what I did, is grab a chair, put it underneath your knees while you do it. Or you can just stand on the chair and do it if your pull-up bar is long enough, like further up enough that you have to use a chair and stand on it. I do it with my knees on the chair because that's what works for me. But do that; it lessens the pressure on your hands. And then once you get to like a minute of doing that, start taking the chair out, or start adding stuff that's not as tall. And so that's what I've been doing. Really helped with my duck butt. That's what I call it. That's what a lot of people call it. Really helped with that. I don't have, I have really good posture now because of that. That's only after like 2 weeks to a month of doing it. What else have I done? I've been doing neck exercises because that's always been the problem with my physique. The one that I've never done exercises for, so that's always been the one that's underdeveloped is my neck. I've started to see results. I think I've gained like an inch on my neck from what I've measured it from, and I noticed it in the mirror too. So I just off the edge of my bed, I put my head on the edge of my bed, and then I put a dumbbell wrapped in like a towel, one of the towels I have, and just do exercise like lifting my head like that, or the other side around. I can't do it because of the wall. Just do that until like 80% to failure. You don't want to go all the way to failure because you don't want to hurt your neck too much. But that's what I do. It's basically like a daily habit to me, so far. That's all I do. I don't really count how many numbers or sets or anything because it's just a habit for me. And I've already gotten results from that. I could like count my sets and reps and everything, but I don't think it's worth it for me. It's just something I do on the side now that I've added to my routine. Um, what else? That's it for the life update. Now we're going to talk about the big thing, which is the mini experiment I've been doing about the last 2 weeks or so. What that is I want to give a little bit of background. And spoiler alert, really good. I've seen pretty good results on it, but I want to give a background. So, if you don't know this, psychology has discovered this. Your memories are tempted by your emotions. And so, essentially, unless it's a really emotional memory, 50% of your memories, I've seen different percentages, are made up, which is why I don't think eyewitness statements should be used in court. But that's my perspective. But it's like 50, maybe it's a little bit less. People argue on the ratios all the time. Your mind makes up stuff because your mind forgets and then you recall and then it makes up stuff. Uh, I know it's kind of crazy. And so my thought of it is, and this is why you should read psychology stuff and everything, not just for the knowledge. I find it interesting to know about people and everything and how they interact, but also to use that knowledge to better your life, to make your life better. And so that's what I've done with this experiment. But let's get back to the topic. Your memories are tinted, that's what I like to use, remade by your emotions. And so the lens you see reality, I used to think was only your philosophy on life, the things that go through that shapes your own personal life philosophy. That's what I call it. But how you see the world and the frame you see the world through, if you know psychology terms. However, I'm now come to the conclusion that it's not just that, it's also the emotions you have and your, I guess, I don't say personality, but your mood over the long term. So now it's not just your mood one day a week or your emotion one day a week, it's your mood over the long term, over years, kind of shapes your perspective on your memories. And so, like, if you're sad all the time, or angry all the time, or depressed all the time, that's going to coat your own memories of your past self. And the vice versa, if you're more joyful, happy about how your life's going, that will taint your memories of your past, how you view them, how to view the people in your memories too. Kind of crazy thought, right? And so, what if you could consciously control this? I've already talking about how I use music to kind of control my emotions, but I've also been doing other stuff recently too to kind of control my emotions. And this is important for the mini experiment, and this is background for the mini experiment. And I think it's very important for people to like know about this and know about the applications for this. So if you can control your emotions, make yourself joyful, happy, depressed, sad, more specifically, it's more important to be happy and joyful. I'll get back to the reasons for that in other parts. Then you can kind of taint your own memories. And what does that mean? That means your rest of your personality is based on your past experiments, right? Or your past experiences, right? And so, but your memories are made up of 50% emotions, let's say, and 50% real life. And so you kind of regressively kind of change your emotions, which will then change your personality because your personality is based on your past, right? Sorry, my nose itches. Wait, so it's kind of like a cycle loop. So if you kind of change your own general mood, you can kind of change your own the way you view your own memories, which will then change your own personality, which is formed by your past experience, which is your memories. So it's a kind of cycle loop. So another thing I want to mention is this. That's one thing you need to know from my mini experiment. The other thing you need to know is humans evolved over a long period of time. Oh, my nose itches. My allergies are messing up. So humans evolved over a long period of time. However, language in our evolutionary history, back to God or monkeys or whatever, whichever you believe, which is not important to the topic, language is a very recent thing in our evolutionary history. So, how did people communicate? Because people used to live in tribes, maybe not big tribes, but tribes themselves. Before civilization, I mean like big civilization, not little civilization, where people lived in groups. People lived in groups. And if you were exiled from the group, you essentially starved to death and died. Or what happened is you couldn't find a mate, so then you didn't pass on your genes. So how did people communicate? They communicated through their body language, non-verbally. So that means if you could control your body language, but more importantly, analyze other people's body languages, you were effectively cut out of the gene pool. And so humans evolved naturally to be very good at reading nonverbal cues. And at that time, there was no language. So let's say you had a friend in the village or whatever who made tools for people. And then you had a son, and then your son was going to learn how to make tools. Well, there was no language. So the blacksmith didn't say, in my own terms, blacksmith, future terms. They didn't have blacksmith as a term. There was no language. They would watch what the master did and then copy it with their own body. So humans are naturally very good at copying others' body language, how they move and everything. And that's how you master the skill. Not just blacksmithing, but also hunting and food gathering and all that other stuff. And so humans as a species, that is the way they communicate. That's why like the saying is like 70% of communication is nonverbal. That's what it is. And so humans got very good also at telling when you're lying, when you're being deceitful, or when your body language is different than what you're feeling. So you might be feeling sad, but on the outside you're showing body language that's happy, and they can catch on that really quickly. And people don't like being lied to or being lied to really. And so that is another topic you need to know. So communication is mostly 70% nonverbal. So we know that your perspective on life is affected by emotions. We also know humans read nonverbally. So I combine these two. I need some water. I'm talking too much. Combine these two into a mini experiment. What if I change my own emotions and then I would record how people treated me differently compared to if I was happy, sad, other things? Because what you got to realize is people can see through your nonverbals. That's why it's really hard to be really good at acting. Because you got to convince a lot of people that you're happy or sad or whatever when you're really not. So that's the question is, what if I change my own emotions and then I also recorded what people how people acted towards me. Now, there is two caveats. There is a caveat to this that I discovered over time. Is by becoming more joyful as a person or happier as a person over time, you're coloring your own perspectives on life. The example I like to give is this. If you read a book and I read the same book, we're going to have two different experiences. Okay? And so, that, if you think about it this way, if you color your own perspective, you change how you see the world. And so if I do this experiment while I'm happy or whatever, and I see how people react to me, are they actually reacting more to me in a better way? Or is it I'm seeing the world through a different lens? So I'm naturally seeing the good in people compared to before. And so that is a caveat. I'm only using my own perception. But like, what can I do? I can't fund a psychology experiment. I mean, there are studies on this in the labs. Okay, people have done experiments on this. But like, I don't. I want to run my own experiment on this. But I'm one person, so this is the best I can do. So, what have I been doing the last 2 weeks at work? I have been changing my emotions at work than I normally am. Okay? I guess that's the best. I don't know how to put it. I've been using some different techniques to put myself in a joyful mood. And then I've been radiating that out to the outside world. And then I've been looking and recording the differences in behavior of the people around me compared to when the days I'm not in a good mood or I'm sad or whatever. Specific techniques, I might make a video on that. Now, I want to make clear that I'm not always like happy at work. There are some days where the weather is really bad and I've gotten like 4 hours of sleep, and that makes me not a happy camper. And so I'm like, I can't put in the effort to change my mood. And then there are other days where the weather is perfect. I'm feeling good. I got 8 hours of sleep, made myself breakfast and everything, got up 2 hours before work, so I got ready. I got to do stuff before work and everything. And so my life, I'm feeling a lot more better. There are days like that. And so let's talk about what are the results from that. So it's been about 2 weeks. I'd say half the time I'm joyful, half the time I'm more like 3/4 of the time I'm joyful, happy, joyful. 1/3 of the time I'm sad, or not really sad, just in a bad mood. I guess that's the best term I can put it on. Or I'm not present in the moment. Now, why this experiment works is also I work with people. So I work at Walmart as one of the dispensers for online groceries. I'd say the delivery drivers, a lot of them don't speak English, or they just shove a code in my face and make me load it up, or the route or whatever. So I exclude those. But I talk to about 50 people per day at work, maybe even a lot more than that, really a lot more than that, depending on the day. If it's really busy, it's like 200 people. So I get to talk to them, but the good thing is this. I want to isolate the variables. And so, like I said, 70% communication is nonverbal. So I want to focus on the nonverbal before the verbal. So I always do this at work. I don't have to ask the customers a lot of questions. I just ask, are they the right person? Where do they want the groceries? And have a good day, and let me load it up and all that type of stuff. Let me load up the groceries, and then that's it. Maybe like a couple sentences. I could do more, especially if we're not busy. And this, it's March. I think it's March. Yeah, we're not busy at all, so I could do that. But I want to isolate variables, and I want to focus on like the non-communication part, the aura you radiate. Okay, so that's good. I just ask a couple questions, and that's it. Okay, here are some of the results I've got so far on this. There is a big difference between the days I am happy and the days I'm closed off, not really engaged in things. Those are the days where I'm worried about having to clean my apartment after I get home from work, or what I'm grocery shopping for, like what's the list, or what am I doing for my classes after work. All that type of stuff is when I'm not present in the moment, I'm not engaged or whatever, or it's other thing, or I'm in bad mood or whatever, and I just want to get through the day. versus joyful, happy, or whatever. I make more eye contact and communicate more smoothly because of that. And so these are the two perspectives I have, two different moods I have. Of course, it's a spectrum, but those are the two major moods. I've had major results when I'm way more happier, because that's what I think it is. I'm happier, and I naturally adjust my body language to show that, and then people communicate more. But it could also be I'm skewing my own perspective into seeing the good in people more, you know. But that's the psychological question. But what I've seen is this. Let me give you some exact details, results so far. The biggest one was this. I was dispensing this lady's groceries. She's a regular, so I see her like once a week. And I'm usually the one dispensing in the morning, always. Except for on the days I'm working, most of the time I'm outside dispensing groceries. I've dispensed this lady's groceries like 4 or 5 times. I think her name's Joy, whatever. I'm in a very good mood because it's like I woke up like 2 hours early, so I had some stuff to do before I had to work, so it's not like I had to wake up, go straight to work. I was in a really joyful mood. I cultivated that with the specific techniques in my mind, which I'll probably make another video on. Then, number three, it was perfect weather, like 50 degrees out. Perfect weather. I felt really good and everything. That all combined to like my own aura. That's what I called it. Aura, I guess. That's like the occult term, I guess. I don't know if I should use that term. We're going to use it for this video. It doesn't matter what the term is. But people can sense that. Because like I said, humans can sense all that type of stuff. We're really good at it. This lady, when I'm like, hello, good morning, or whatever, she like literally jumped back in her chair and she was like, "What? You must be new here." Like in a like, "Oh my god!" Like what? Like in a good way, not like, "Oh my god, this person's creepy," but like, "Oh my god, wow," or whatever. And I was like, "No, no, no! I've been here for like a couple months." She's like, "No way! You must have never dispensed my own groceries." Like in a playful way. I'd say this lady's like 30s, 40s. Usually that's the age that people pick up the groceries, or they're like way older. Like we got like the grandpas, grandmas, 70s, 60s, like that. Or they're a little bit younger. We don't see a lot of like 20-year-olds picking up groceries. Maybe they do deliveries. I don't know. But she was like, "Oh my god, wow," or whatever, in like amazed voice. And I was like, "Yeah, I've been here for a couple months." And I didn't say this, but I was like, "I recognize this lady. Like, I've taken out her groceries." That is probably the biggest result. Other things I've noticed: delivery drivers who don't speak English, but well, some of them do, but most of the time they're rude, standoffish. I can't blame them. They're doing that for hours on the day. Um, I've noticed they're nicer. Pickup people are a lot nice. I wouldn't say they're all. I would say delivery drivers are nicer. Pickup people, they're always nice. I say they're more open. They're more open to like talk, and they're not like closed off. I've noticed that coworkers um, are are better. It's not my coworkers bully me or mean or whatever, but if I'm standoffish, they're standoffish. I guess that's the term I would use. Um, so I've noticed that I've gotten more smiles. A big thing I've noticed is if I'm going to like the break room or whatever, and if I'm smiling and all happy and everything, customers will go to me and ask me questions or if they need help or whatever, way more than if I'm in my own mind thinking about what am I getting for groceries that day. So if I'm more present, but also if I'm like happier, those two combined, people make more eye contact with me. I notice too. But yeah, the customers ask me questions all the time. Good thing I like it. It's okay. I like to help people. I don't like it sometimes when they ask me. I'm okay with it if they ask me like where can I find this item because I can pull up on the app really quickly. If they're asked, can you radio me or like go pick this item? Can you go find if this item's in the back or whatever? And I'm like, that's a different department or whatever. Or I have a radio on me that's connected to the online department. Other people online, they'll be like, can you radio this person? The person, or they'll be like, can you get the keys to open up the thing so I can get like toothpaste or not toothpaste but like the teeth whitening stuff because that's one of the things they have locked up in our store or other stuff like you can get the technology stuff and I'm like I just don't work there. I can't find someone. You're gonna have to look around and I say it in the nicest way possible but I have my own job too. uh, but people come up to me nicer. One girl was like, I was walking by, okay, we have um we're a big store, so like there's always people outside by the police officer who are like selling stuff, or it's the volunteers or whatever, high school kids volunteering or whatever, or this or whatever it is. One time there was this girl. Um, there were like a couple girls selling like Girl Scout cookies or whatever. I'd say high school age or whatever. Everyone was ignoring them or whatever. I was coming in back from my break because I was eating my car or whatever, my meal or whatever, and I was coming back in my break. And I was walking back or whatever, and I was going by the entrance, and I was in a good mood and everything, so I made eye contact, smile with them. Everyone else like avoids eye contact, walks as fast as possible, whatever. I was in a good mood, whatever. I only had like a minute left till my lunch ended, so I was in like a fast mood to get inside because you have to be inside the store to clock in, otherwise it won't clock you in on your phone. So I was walking in, but I was going by, and I was like, why not like smile at them or look at them and like acknowledge them or whatever, because I was in a good mood or whatever. And then they were like, "Oh, how are you?" or whatever, and I was like, I gotta go. Like, I didn't have for a conversation or whatever. So I was like, "Oh, I'm good." And then I walked really quickly into the door, and I think I disappointed them or whatever. But I noticed that too. Like most people, they were, and that was probably because I also made eye contact and smiled at them. Um, if I was like everyone else and I just try to ignore them and walk in the door, don't even lock eyes with them. Um, that's what you do with the people. But yeah, they were like, I think they were high school kids selling like Girl Scout cookies um, or whatever. I think it was Girl Scout cookies. I don't know. They're not like every week we have someone new setting up a table by the door, doing it. It's whether it's donations, other stuff, all that type of stuff, and it's right by the police car too that we have, or it's the fire truck they have there, depending on the day. That's always there to like I guess to provide protection at the store because we're a huge supermarket. Um, so they did that, but that was also something I noticed. That could have been it, but like I said, but I noticed that too. Like, and I think it's also because like if I'm happier and more in the present, I make more eye contact and smile, and so people see me as more approachable compared to someone who's in their own mind or they're acting like they're busy and they gotta walk by or they are ignoring you or something. I think that's part of it too. But I've noticed that on. So I think that's like the biggest results is people are nicer. People approach you more. You're more approachable, I would say. Because you're in a good mood, you're smiling at people, making eye contact. Compared to if you're like in your own thoughts in your own head and you're emotional, well, not emotional, but like depressed or something like that, or if you're in a bad mood. I think it's because people can sense that. Like people don't want to talk to people who are in a bad mood. Like that's just from my experience from this 2 year 2 week mini experiment. So I think that's like the biggest results. I think that's a good thing. I'm gonna try more. I want to see because the thing is, I got a couple more months working at Walmart before I probably get another job at the accounting job. I don't know. I might still work weekends at Walmart. I don't know for the extra money, and so I can keep trying this experiment. But I've seen this. I think the biggest divide is when I compare like days I was in a bad mood and the days I had a good mood. And so like I might make another video on the different topics or the different methods I use to kind of control my own emotions. I mean, music's one of them. I talked about that in a previous video, but other I've used other techniques. Now, like I said, like sometimes I'm just not in a good mood, so I don't even try, or I'm not in a talkative mood. And I think it's because like I'm trying to be more social and like at work and everything. So that's working and everything. But like I said, coworkers nicer, people are nicer. Um, I'm more yeah. Like I said, I don't really have any other specific results, but I've seen all that, and I think it's worth it. And maybe yeah, you guys can try that. I don't know. Um, but maybe when I make a video on the ways I control my own emotions, what I've been doing recently that's helped a lot. Um, Maybe you guys can kind of try it yourself, and then we can have like a group uh, study, like our own psychology study group. I don't know, but that's how I've seen it. Is I guess the basics of this experiment is if you change your own mood, you change your own body language, which makes people think you're more approachable. So then they do, and they're nicer to you. And so that kind of creates a feedback loop where you're more confident, you're more social with people. And then it's like a revolving door, or not a revolving door, but like a closed loop, feedback loop. where now you're more social with people. You think people treat you better because they do, and then you show that off subconsciously in your aura, your own aura, if you use other terms, and then people will like respond better than that, and then you get really good at that, and people respond better to you, and so it's like a feedback loop. If we're thinking in systems, I think that's all of the results I've had so far, but it's only been 2 weeks, so we'll see. Um, so, is there anything else? There's been some drama at work. I don't want to mention it. Not involve me, but involving like team leads and everything. Which is part of the course when you're dealing with like 30 people in a department. So it's kind of crazy. Anything else? The weather has been pretty nice recently. It's getting warmer. I might have to cut a little bit. I probably only need to lose like 5 pounds to get to like 12% body fat, which is pretty good. That's when I'll really be showing my abs and everything. I gotta get that summer look because I got the pool at the apartment. I might go to the pool sometimes. I'll be able to tan too, properly and everything. I will miss the snow, um, which will make me really sad. I'll miss the snow. Um, I don't know anything else. Um, in my life. Um, hmm. I don't know. Have you guys? I want to. Well, I want to talk about this. I almost made a video on this. And this is, I probably could make another video for you guys on this, but why not talk about it? Why not? So, Trump has been elected. I don't like to talk about politics too much, but I know a lot of people who have seen the Ukrainian Zelensky versus Trump at the White House, um, negotiating uh, the peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, all that type of stuff. And I watched it because I was curious, and I looked at the comments because I was curious too. And maybe it's because I was watching from different sources and everything. And so I want to give my own perspective on it. What I believe is this: Zelensky and Trump, and even Vance, who was there too, all of them are sharks. What I like to call sharks. What you have to realize is these three people have all become leaders of their nation. Even though Vance isn't really a leader, he's vice president, he still is a politician of great renown. Okay? All three of them are sharks. They've probably done some shady crap in their own history to get ahead. Politics are crazy and deadly. You don't get to the position you get to without being a shark, being ruthless. That's the key word, being ruthless. What you have to realize is Zelensky was an American puppet who wanted to not still be the American puppet. Because I've seen this on the comments. A lot of the comments were like, gotta respect Ukraine, or Trump's an embarrassment, or this or that, which I will get to. But these three men are sharks. Zelensky used the war with Ukraine. He benefited personally because he was able to mobilize the entirety of Ukraine, take back all power, direct all control towards him. All the oligarchs who controlled a ton of economic power in Ukraine have either run away, been exiled, are dead, or who have had massive economic losses from the war against Russia. So he's able to consolidate his power, and because of the war against Russia, he also became an American puppet because he had no choice to. It was either America or Russia when Russia started the war, because they did start the war. I will say that. He could have become a Russian puppet or an American puppet. He chose America because America didn't want to rule directly, because America wants to weaken Russia through this war. Okay, Zelensky still keeps all of his power, but Russia needs Ukraine to secure its borders. if Ukraine becomes part of NATO, there's basically flat plains to Moscow. And that's why the USSR had all those puppet nations, because they had to have those to defend itself, okay? Otherwise, it's flat plains. It's not like Afghanistan with the mountains and all that, really bad terrain. None of that. Flat plains, easy to invade, okay? So, that's why there's been, like, news that, like, Ukraine re-attacked Russia. It's because there's flat plains, okay? There's no natural barriers to stop invasions, stop infantry. So, Russia is more invested in winning. Oh, my contact messed up. Running against. Come on. You winning against Ukraine. And so Zelensky would have to give up more power to Russia compared to if he was an American puppet. And so that's what he did. I can't blame him for that. Now, of course, he sold out his the Ukraine economic. He sold them out. Why? That's why BlackRock had a secret deal with Ukraine, still does, and everything. Once Ukraine fell and won the war, at least stalemated Russia, where Russia came to the negotiation table, guess what would happen? All those places in Ukraine would have to be rebuilt. Who got to rebuild them? American companies. Okay, they'd also have to open up to the American banks, financial system, all that more than they already did before the war. Okay, so America would get to plunder Ukraine economically. Russia would want total control over Ukraine. So what they might do is they might get rid of Zelensky, kill him off, reinstall someone from Russia. Okay, they could do that. Or they could threaten him and all that type of stuff. So, no doubt he made the best choice becoming an American puppet. However, what you got to realize is Zelensky no longer wants to be an American puppet. Europe has stepped up. They've started funding the Ukraine war because they know America might step back at any time, especially with the changes of presidency, which I think Trump just did. I think he stepped back all the aid from Ukraine. I think I just saw that on the news. I'm not surprised. So, that's that. Now, at the negotiation table, no doubt they had negotiation in private, with Vance, Trump, and Zelensky. But what you have to realize is negotiation, from what I know of it, from I've read and all that type of stuff, everyone has their own spirit, I would say. Okay? Zelensky has his own spirit, and Trump and Vance are together, so they have their own spirit. And these spirits are like fighting with words, okay? Not swords or anything, with words. And they're trying to get as much of an advantage as possible. And if you go back to the negotiation, you watch the table, that's what they're doing. Trump has Vance with him to pressure Zelensky. Okay, he has another person with him while Zelensky is one. Now, Zelensky can use that as the underdog, which he took advantage of it. Like, you're ganging up on me and all this type of stuff. That was kind of like the mood. That's what people were talking about. Why is there two people? Vance doesn't need it. They're ganging up on him, okay? Because they know negotiations are not going to be all in public. So they're ganging up on him to make him back down so he loses some of his spirit, so in private they can negotiate hard. Like, I remember Ukraine, while they were trying to get more aid from the U.S., now that Trump's up, they were giving more mineral rights to America because they need America and everything for supplies and all that type of stuff. And already Zelensky is in a lower position than Trump and Vance because he's got all this aid from America and he needs this aid. Okay, he really needs it. Even with Europe stepping in, he really needs the aid from America. And so if Russia knows that America is stepping back from the war, they can be more brutal. Okay? So, and they can use more tactics that are worse than that they're already using. And so Zelensky is already in like a bottom part of the position. But Trump's like, why aren't you thanking us for all of our aid and all that type of stuff? He's trying to get Zelensky to submit, lower his spirit. So later on in the negotiations, he knows Zelensky won't be able to ask as much because his spirit's already lowered and everything. And so Zelensky's like, well, you guys let it happen with Crimea and everything. You didn't stop him. All this other stuff. Why are you like blaming me? Because Trump said, Ukraine started the war. Do you think Trump really meant it or any of that type of stuff? No, he's just trying to get like an edge on the negotiations. Okay, he's like, you're the one who started the war, and Ukraine has to be like, he's going to be like, he maneuvers out of it. He says, well, you allowed Russia to invade Crimea in 2016 and get away with it, which NATO did, and Trump and the U.S. did allow Russia to take Crimea. Russia stopped with taking Crimea, it would have been fine. But he was like, he kept going. He kept going because he saw that he was able to. Whether you agree with it or not, the U.S. and NATO did allow Russia to take Crimea. So Zelensky turns this about and says, "I didn't start the war. You guys did, and you guys allowed it. You let Russia um, allowed to take Crimea, and you allowed that to happen, or whatever." And Trump starts blustering and everything. He's like, "You're ungrateful," and all that time. You notice how he switches the conversation because he knows, hey, Zelensky won this in a little bit, and so Zelensky's spirit rose a little bit. Okay, Trump's like, crap, we got to take this guy down and everything. And so it keeps going after him and everything. And then Trump switches to where he's like, you should be grateful for us and everything. We provided you all this great. And he's right. Ukraine should be thankful and everything. And so, but like I said, these guys are all sharks, okay? And what you have to realize is they have an immense pressure on their back, okay? That's why the saying, like, heavy is the crown that a king wears. It's true. All of them have an immense pressure on them. Trump, Vance, and Zelensky. But they're all sharks. So they're incredibly ruthless. That's why Zelensky said, and he said this in NATO, he's like, if Russia comes into peace deals and it says, I have to step down, I will step down. Which means nothing, guys. You got to realize nothing. Politicians do not have to keep their words. Okay, if Russia says Zelensky has to step down, just because Zelensky steps down, he can still, Zelensky, with the power he has in Ukraine, can install a puppet leader and everything and control everything from the shadows. Okay, I've seen that on a video where people are like, well, if he was a dictator or whatever, he wouldn't say that. And I was like, he's just saying words. Would Russia ever ask that? And if they did, he would just step into the shadows. With all the power he has, he's not going to give that up lightly. Okay? And so he might give up the position of power in the light, but in the shadows, he'll still have all the power. It's like how you think the president of the United States has a ton of power and everything. But really, he doesn't. After 4 years, he has to leave and everything. He's got to step into power, step out of the shadows and everything. But all the power he's had while he's in the president, if he's a good president, he can transfer out of that. He can make connections with other people in the government and get money and everything. That's why presidents, after they become, president, a lot of them, except for Trump, he's lost money on it, make more money after the presidency. They have book deals and all this type of stuff, but they have other stuff too. No doubt they have dealings with the government still and everything. That's why Secret Service agents, after the president leaves office, they still follow him because he still has all these connections and everything. And it's necessary to protect him. Okay? It's the same thing with Zelensky. Okay? The man is a shark. All the oligarchs are gone. He's concentrated power. How many Ukrainian citizens have been drafted and everything for this war? Like, no doubt, he has been, you can say he hasn't or he hasn't, he's benefited from the war, okay? Now, there has not been a new election in Ukraine since the war started, which is understandable because there are in-clause that say Ukraine can't have another election in times of war. But, like I said, he's benefited massively from it. No one would have cared about Ukraine if Russia didn't invade it. No one would care about Zelensky unless all the propaganda from the West came out, how he was a great hero and all this type of stuff. He's fighting back Russia, all that type of stuff. He's a normal human. He's a shark. He's ruthless. I've seen online that one of his political rivals, he's jailed recently. And this is after a lot of people in America are calling him a dictator. Whether you believe that or not, the fact of the matter is he's gained massive amounts of power, appeal, soft power, because everyone knows his name and everyone knows who he is and they think he's a hero and everything. Okay? Like, it's just that. Okay? He's just he's a shark. It's ruthless and everything. Just like Putin is. Just like Xi Jinping is. The U.S., any of the leaders. Democracy has limited it so there's no longer blank out assassinations between political rivals and all that. That's what democracy has done in the U.S., but it's still a ruthless game. Okay, um, like I said, I think that's my take on it. Like people are like, fact of the matter is, people are like, and then also people are like really sad. They're like, look how dishonorable it is to the Ukrainian soldiers. They fought so hard and everything, and I agree with that. I understand why people do that because they realize they can be in that same position. Someone could attack their country, then they have to go to war and everything. They might be drafted and everything to fight in the war, all that type of stuff. So I can't blame them for that. But like, honestly, like, I think I don't want to be too caustic or anything, but like, as an American, if you're American, which most of my viewers are, we've benefited from that because we have weakened Russia, who is a remnant of a superpower, which is why they still have nuclear bombs. Something I want to talk about: Ukraine used to have one of a massive amount of nuclear bombs. One of them. Instead, they disarmed. I think this is true. Don't quote me 100% on it, but I think used to have nuclear bombs. They disarmed, which is the dumbest decision ever. With a nuclear peace deal, look what's happening now. If they had nuclear bombs, that would never happen. They disarmed and everything, so look what happened now. Back to the topic. Well, I feel sad for the Ukrainian people because I could be that one day. As an American, I benefited from that because we used them to weaken the Russians who used to be superpower. They're almost a bigger threat than China. Okay, because they used to be a superpower, and they have. It's not like Britain, which used to be a superpower, France, who used to be a superpower. The problem with those two is 2 world wars completely destroyed them, wiped out their population mentality, caused huge amounts of trauma, destroyed majority of their wealth. Um, Same thing with Germany. Remember Germany rose up with the Nazis and Third Reich. Okay, and the World War I also completely decimated them. So like they used to be superpowers. Russia, while it disbanded and while a ton of people ate its remains, that's why we have all the oligarchs. The U.S. took all the engineers, the space engineers, all that type, all the talented, all that type of stuff. It still has the foundation of almost being, used to be a superpower. It still has that. Just think of the nuclear bombs it has. That's left over from its foundation as a superpower. So, unfortunately, I think it's just a matter of bad luck. Ukraine became what it is because it was a weak nation, unfortunately. And I could say that's right or wrong, but the problem is we're talking on nation statewide level. So there's no good or evil. Okay? Like you could say like it's just a part of history and it's part of life is when you're that big of a nation in today's modern world. It's just a fact of life that Russia was or Ukraine was a weak nation and got taken advantage of by Russia. Unfortunately, it's just I mean I can't say unfortunately because it's like the games of power. I could have been born in Africa and I could be some warlord slave, or mining cobalt for some rich American to use in an electric car because it's supposedly cleaner than gasoline. I mean, gasoline's not much better because there's been companies in the U.S. who have enslaved multiple countries in Africa and ruled Africa from the shadows. Like, it's just a part of life. You have to be, as a nation, you have to be ruthless to protect your people. Now, I would say this is I wouldn't say it's a good thing for the people in Ukraine, but there is some writing on the wall for Ukraine. If you were a normal soldier or you were a normal citizen in Ukraine, normal man, because it's mostly men, if you survived the war against Russia and you good enough at war and you rose up in the ranks, if Ukraine never invaded Ukraine or if Russia never invaded Ukraine, you would have been a normal dude working a 9 to 5 in Ukraine, working in a fast food or whatever. Post the war, you were forced to join the military, but if you're exceptional, you have the chance to rise up in the ranks because Ukraine needs all the people it can get. That is the thing. Um, like for example, I was watching a documentary on first person drones and everything, first person vehicle drones, where it's from first person, and you have to do a lot of training on it. And they were interviewing the number one killer with first person drones on the Ukrainian side. And he was like, I was just a normal guy playing video games and everything, and all that type of stuff. And now I'm a soldier. I'm the number one killer in the Ukrainian war because you got to realize is 80% of all casualties in the war on both sides and on vehicle casualties have been from first person drones suiciding. Okay, and he was talking about it. He's like, now I'm a commander and everything. I'm one of the best killers, and he's got a lot of medals and all that. He's probably made a lot of money. They probably paid him a lot well and everything. But if that never happened, he would have been, in a 9 to 5 or whatever. Now, if he dies, he dies. But if he survives the war, he could probably join another military or whatever. The Ukrainian military goes under or whatever, and get paid more as like a mercenary or any of that type of stuff. So the war with Ukraine and Russia completely changed this guy's destiny. And he would have never known that. He probably would have never got as much attention and everything. Now the thing is like opportunity comes with risk. Okay, so the greater the opportunity, the greater the risk. So this guy, he might die by the end of the war, or Russia might ask him to die for Ukraine and Russia to have peace deals, something like that. So that's another perspective on life if you think about it that way. Whether it's good or bad doesn't matter on that. His life is completely changed, and maybe he would have liked maybe he liked the old days where he could work a 9 to 5. I don't know, but I guess that's just something to think about. I guess would be the term. That's the end of the video. I thought it would be shorter, but I was like, why not do a little bit of a rant since I haven't made a video in a while. Been 52 minutes. Thanks you guys for watching. Have a fantastic week, day, month. I don't know when I'll be posting again. I know the quality isn't the best. I'm doing it on my computer because I'm on the floor and everything, on the bed or whatever, on my futon. So thanks you guys for watching. Maybe, hopefully you got some value from it. I don't expect all of you to watch the end of the video. Probably no one does. But thanks you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next. I gotta go to sleep. It's almost time for me to go to sleep. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys whenever. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Peace out. Peace out. Goodbye.